clipped an article out of the newspaper recently, a tragic article about this little girl who was beaten to death by her father. The father told the sheriff that he had to spank the child repeatedly to discipline her. Spanking is a highly charged issue in America today. The length of the breadth of this country, there exists a wide range of opinions and attitudes about spanking. I'm going to tell you what we know about spanking, and it is this: it is incredibly risky. It's true, you might get the response you want immediately, but in doing that, you are inviting a huge amount of risk into the parent-child relationship. Hitting is a trigger event for abuse. It starts with a spanking and it ends up with a beating. We don't need to do it. It's just too risky. And when a child gets spanked, what does the child do? Runs away. What is the child doing? Escaping and avoiding. That's right. Spanking doesn't encourage a child to come to you. Spanking encourages a child to get away from you, and it puts distance between parents and their children. And it just doesn't work in the long run. Parents are always telling me, but I know how to spank my child so that the child behaves well and still loves me. Well, if that's the case, I'm happy for that parent. But if that child grows up in a home where behavior has been managed through spanking, how is that child going to attempt to manage behavior when he or she becomes a parent? Through spanking. And who is to say that that child as a parent will exercise the same restraint that his or her parent exercised? It's just too risky. And we have better ways of managing inappropriate behavior. I received a letter, a gripping letter from a mother, and I'm going to read a few lines from it. I have been dealing with my children just like my father dealt with me, angrily, verbally berating, criticizing, and the list goes on. Well, you can imagine what's on that list. And I have hated myself for it, just like I hated him for it. Now listen to this. I haven't spoken to him since I saw him at my wedding reception 12 years ago. What's that? Avoidance. That's right. But then the mother makes this interesting comment. And I have been turning into him. And I can't let that happen. You see, folks, force becomes generational. And so I offer you this important thought. Say and do to your children only what you want said and done to your grandchildren. If you want your grandchildren to be hit, hit your kids. If you want your grandchildren to be screamed at, scream at your kids. I was giving a talk in a large western city a few years ago, and after I had finished, a grandmother approached me from the right. As she got a few feet away from me, she said, "Can you ever undo what you have done?" And as she got to me, a young mother with a baby in her arms approached from the front. She didn't look at me. She looked at this grandmother and said, "Grandma, now you know why I scream at my kids," and walked off. Just don't do it. If you want to be heard, keep your voice calm and soft. If you want your children close to you, eliminate spankings. There was a time when parents could get away with that, but not now. With all of the violence that kids see on television, with all of the violence in society generally, it's just washing over us. The mother of a 5th grade boy called me just a few weeks ago and said my boy came home from school with a bad conduct report. He had been hitting children on the playground. And I told him, "You're not supposed to hit children." And he said, "Mommy, why is it okay for Daddy to hit me at home, but it's not okay for me to hit kids on the playground?" It just isn't worth it.